I'll just say the whole experience, especially now with everyone here and friends and family here, I feel like I'm kind of reliving my childhood. Yeah. I mean, who would have thought, for God's sakes, 20 years ago, we're still sitting here together, you know, thank God we're all alive, talking about this little movie. And I have to say thanks to these guys, to Mark and Marty, for feeling it, not only seeing something that they thought they could make an interesting film about, but I think they really deep down felt something that was important or emotional, and I think kind of felt the emotion that we all had in making the film and then not being able to see it come to fruition the way we wanted it. So I want to thank them very much for doing that.
You know, seeing this tonight, or the first time you saw this film that it's on tonight, was there any surprise for you within it? And then also, having everybody here together tonight and looking back on the legacy of this film, how does that sort of feel for you guys? I mean, what are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling alive? What do you mean, alive? It's from the film. I feel alive. I feel really touched that Marty and Mark made this film. It is a sweet kind of justice after 20 years. I mean, the fact that we're all sitting here has been wonderful too. And I feel it's a gift, and that we can share our work still through this film. And I still believe, I believe that there's a chance that we can make a big enough noise that somehow we'll pull that thing out of the vault and get it out there. And that's, come on, hoping for that. So yeah.
For those of you who've seen the film, one of the things that stands out the most about this version is it really is a buddy film. That you get the love and the camaraderie between the four. And that was neat when we were shooting it. It's great that it's on the screen when you do see it. And for us, it's been in real life as well. And to think that 20 years later, we get together more frequently than anybody that I've ever worked with. it's always really nice.
For me, what I feel heartsick. The reason why is because when we watched that, this is what we were hoping for the Fantastic Four, for you guys to see the real film, to see all you guys in the seats watching that, instead of seeing the documentary about what could have been. So I feel heartsick. It's sad. It's sad for me. So, but anyway, it is
because you couldn't get in the suit.
That's it. Just to clarify a couple things here. Carl and I have done, I don't know how many films together, several. And actually, funny story, a few years ago, I did a movie called Chamberlain, and I played a lot of bad guys, way I looked down, it was the only way I could play. And he was a stunt coordinator. First shot of the night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, I tore my bicep off my arm. And I turned to Carl and said, "You tell anybody, I'm going to kick your ass." And he didn't, so we finished the film.
Because I knew you could.
Yeah, but he's a great guy. I love this guy. I actually learned a lot that day. Learned a lot from him. I did. He's a true professional.
This is, if you can't tell, this is a whole bunch of friends getting together, and thanks for joining us. You know, we've all done a lot of movies and a lot of TV, and I doubt that 20 years from now, the people that are doing the Fantastic Four now are going to get together and do this. So this is very special. You know, this is very special for all of us. I think. You know, between all this here, there's hundreds of thousands of episodes and movies that we've done, and I don't know anybody that sat with a cast and a director and a producer like this before. for us. So it's a very special night. Thank you.
Yeah, this is really surreal and crazy and cool. I love it. I guess the original question was, what did we think when we first saw the documentary? To be honest, I was so young and so naive at the time. I had no clue about anything that was going on with the movie. All I kept hearing about was these guys were doing comic book conventions, and why aren't I invited? And I thought the movie would be released and whatever, and then I heard it was shelved, and I had no clue. So when I saw the documentary, I was like, wow, that really happened? Wow, oh my God. It's crazy. But this is really cool, and you guys to do this documentary is pretty awesome. And I know that there's a lot of buzz about the cult film that's gone around, and it's nice to know that there's a documentary now that can explain the whole thing and what happened and why it's in the state that it's in and everything. And it's really awesome, and I commend you guys for making this movie. So.
I've been here at the Arrow. I've seen Gabriel Byrne here be up on the stage, Stephanie Powers, recently Josh Whedon when he made his Shakespeare film. And to be here as a Santa Monica resident, as a film fan, it's been a joy to be up here. To add a small part to a little bit of cinema history is due to Mark and Marty, not only remembering this story, but assembling it in a first-class way. This film is a really nice piece of entertainment. And thanks to the Arrow, and thanks to the patrons of the Arrow for allowing us and for making it happen, because tonight it's real. It may be surreal, it may be sick? Heart sick. You might not be able to hear Joseph as well as you want. He'll take care of that. All of those little things.
Hear me now.
Thank you. All those little things are real now, and we spent many afternoons reading Jeff's wonderful articles, The Hero Complex. Well, there isn't a group with a more complex inner life and now story, thanks to Mark and Marty, than is here now. So thank you for allowing us to take up your time. Thank you.
Okay, I know that there's a lot of folks here that have a lot of questions, and I want to make sure, because it's a street panel, that everybody gets a chance to ask stuff. Right there. There you go.
What's it like having your kids see the movie?
Well, I will speak for myself, and as I said in the film, I mean, one of the great gifts of having done Fantastic Four, and even the ironic story of how the film is seen and not seen, was the fun that it gave me to give my son and his friends a special view into one of the great villains of all time, and to stir the imagination, and to eventually wind up doing some cosplay at various conventions, and that's a mode of expression and a wonderful way to express yourself. And I find it connected me to the whole world of the comic genre, with fans still asking me for pictures till this day, and I find that these are my people. These are the people I was one of them when I was a kid, and we're all still hanging in there, and it's an appreciation of fantasy, and there's something very gentle and kind of beautiful about the love of this genre. And so I did give that to my son, and he has shared it with others, and I dare say that all of us have been able to do that to some degree. Yeah.
My son asked me like 2 days ago, because it's been talked about because of this documentary for like the last 10 days, so that's one of the reasons my son didn't come tonight, because he's kind of had enough of it. He said something very salient. Why do they keep making Fantastic Four movies if they can't get it right? So we didn't need to see this. tonight. These kids, and Jackson was young enough to be influenced by it. My boy's 14, and he knows what's going on.
I think one of the interesting films, because it came out, the comic book came out, was it 61, 62?
61.
And I think the look of this film keeps it somewhat timeless because it's just ambiguous as far as the time period that it, you know, we tried to make it look as much as the original comic. And so that's one of the things, generations going down, that I think the fact that it looks like the comic book, that even though sometimes, you know, it can be described less than favorably, I think that that's actually what will contribute to its timelessness, is that it depended on the original source as opposed to whatever was kind of, you know, the passing thing, you know, socially or technologically at the time, that there's a base that will endure, hopefully.
I wanted to say I agree with that, and that I want to say again how much I appreciate Oli and how you made this film, because it is the comic book. It celebrates the comic book. He worked within the parameters of a budget that was impossible, and yet it is fun to watch. It's funny, which is really important. And the style of it, and you know, I will say that this afternoon, my best friend came over who had not seen it in all these years. And I said, well, he's here tonight, and he's going to see this documentary, so we better watch the movie. And so we watched the movie. We had a great time, and it was just reminding me how much I appreciated your craft. You come right in and take me away.
How many folks here in the room have seen the original film?
Wow. You're all under arrest.
We're all under arrest.
Lock the doors. Any more, another question?
I have a question.
Over here, there's one last question.
I want to know what inspired Mark's sites to actually create the documentary. What was the impetus? Is there any one thing, or was it just a collection of?
It was Marty, the director of the film, who couldn't be here tonight, and probably, you know, like a lifelong best friend. He came to work in my father's comic book store in the 80s when I was still living in Massachusetts, and we became like best friends. So when I moved out here, he was visiting while we were shooting Fantastic Four, and he visited the set. And he was one of those guys, and I know there are others here in the audience, who all during the 90s went to comic book conventions trying to buy the best generation bootleg of Fantastic Four. He had 16 copies of this film on VHS. No lie. And so he came to me about 5 years ago and said, I want to tell this story. I want to write a book. And I said, dummy, you and I went to BU film school. Why don't we make a movie? Put that money to use. So we made a movie instead.
Well, if any of you have seen the new Fantastic Four movie.
What new
There's a
movie?
new one?
What do you think of it? I wanted to see, what do you think of it?
I thought it was a really good movie.
No, you didn't.
I thought Doctor Doom looked a bit weird.
Yeah. Well, that's
But it was pretty good.
good. I hope that they can, I mean, we want this franchise to be successful. You know, maybe the next one will be. It would really be nice if the Fantastic Four had been a job well done. And we're getting a chance now to say, well, you know, maybe this was the job well done, and that's a weird thing.
Let me just say that the Fantastic Four to me when I was a kid. How old are you? How old are you?
Me?
I'm 11.
Yeah. I was just about your age when the first comic book came out. And that's one of the things that got me really excited about doing this movie. And I'd already made a couple movies for Roger, and I knew, you know, just from working there already, it wasn't going to be much of, you know, what the big studios or anybody else could give us, but I wanted to make the movie because I remember how I felt about the Fantastic Four when I was a kid. And that's really what the inspiration was for me to try to make the film, and I just loved being able to play like a kid again and have whatever we had with us. I mean, and I'll tell you, we didn't have all the big special effects and the big sets, but I'll say one thing, I had one really great cast of actors. I'm not kidding. These folks really did a marvelous job for us. But anyway, and we are glad to see the Fantastic Four franchise continuing, absolutely. Because that's just part of the universe that we want to continue to see happening out there from our childhoods, and I'm glad you liked it.
We have time for a couple more. Back there.
Can I just say something? It's probably not going to be, I'm not a global very well. But I'll tell you a little story.
You're being grim.
I know.
You're very Ben Grimm right now.
It's collaborative time. I was reading for some movie, and it was in Chris Columbus's office. It was years ago. They had shelved the film, and when they shelved the film, and anytime I stepped on 20th Century's lot, I was like, enemy territory. So I went into Chris Columbus's office, walked down the hallway to my audition. As I'm walking down there, I go into an open door, and I see a manila envelope leaning against a desk, and it says F4 Pictures. And I stopped and I stared, and I knew they were making a new one. And I walked into the office, it was empty. I looked at the little envelope, suddenly laying up. No, I didn't take it, don't worry. So, and I was looking at that little envelope, and all of a sudden this lady came up, may I help you? And I said, yeah, are those Fantastic Four pictures? She goes, yeah. And why do you mind? I said, well, I played Ben Grimm in the original Fantastic Four. And she goes, what? And I said, yeah. I said, did you know there was an original Fantastic Four? It was like, 3 years ago, whatever. She goes, I don't know what you're talking about. We're making Fantastic Four, and I don't even know your story, and you need to get out of my office. Security. So I walked out, and I was pissed. You know what? There's a thing called karma, and until they do our film right, and treat us right, good luck trying to get it right.
Wow, it's going to be a good question after that.
Okay. I want to hear the funniest story you guys have from working on the set during your part of the film.
It wasn't time for a lot of laughs. You're working that hard and that fast. It's not funny. But it is fun, in a way.
All right, we can come back to it. Over there.
Why, because we're old?
Nay. As I said in the documentary, I would do anything to make any improvements to this film if they wanted to put a little money. Oli, we were talking about the other day. Why not? To throw a little bit more money and bring the film up again and throw in some great CGI and re-record any sound issues. Would I put the mask on again? I have one at home. Only certain people get to see it.
It's a lovely question, not to real quick. These are archetypal characters, and sort of like classical characters, Hamlet or Othello. Nobody knows what these characters are supposed to be, so it's up to us, given an opportunity. And when you do something like this, I find, and I know Joe's the same way, you sort of take it with you, and you sort of you play that part almost every time you work, because it's bigger than you. And so, in a way, we've never stopped. And we try to, when we find an archetype that works for us, you try to apply that to everything, because it's up to the audience to justify, if the audience likes it, and then it's what you've learned doing it. So I suppose the funniest thing that we took from this is that we actually learned how to play a character that eventually became important, as opposed to now, you're being cast for a very important character, you're going to direct a very important movie in my career, none of it, it was all fairy dust and fun. No pressure. And when you can do that, it's like being a top athlete. Take the grace and take it with you forever. And that's what we've been able to do. That's why we're still alive. All we can do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Dr.